You are God, supreme and set apart. You stand alone, nobody. Glory to the Lamb, seated on the throne. Age to age he stands, from everlasting to everlasting. Glory to the Lamb, seated on the throne. Hey, from age to age he stands, everlasting to everlasting. You're alone on the throne, none can be your equal. You're alone on the highest throne, none can be your rival. You're alone on the throne, none can begin to be compared. Glory to the Lamb, glory to the Lamb. Nobody, nobody,
Two, three, step into the joy of the Lord. 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 Let's go right here. Two, my heart's been thirsty and hungry for more. My soul's been waiting for you.
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
Ask Elaine. Better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine. Ask Elaine. Better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine. Better ask Elaine.
All right. Hello. Hello. I'm back, y'all. I know y'all got tired of watching her, but last week, I'm kidding y'all. But I'm back. On last Wednesday, I don't know whether Herbert told you or not, but I was in an all-day workshop, Macon Water Authority. That was one of the things that I wanted as a new member, for us all to sit down together and go over what the Water Authority is all about and how we should present ourselves, or how we should go about doing your business as members of the Water Authority. And from that meeting, there was a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion, and a debate as to whether the water authority existed to serve you, or whether it existed to just provide water. And so I think from the discussion, the conclusion was reached that it's both: to provide clean, plentiful water, and also to provide to the constituents information, because it is your water authority. You own all this stuff. I keep telling y'all own all this stuff. You pay for all of this stuff. And so you need to and deserve to be respected and given the information on all of these things that you own. And I keep telling you, y'all own a private hunting lodge. Did y'all know that? Water Authority has a private hunting uh, lodge. And we have not been able to get information on that. I wonder why. But anyway, we'll keep you up on the Water Authority. Our meetings are held on the first Thursday of each month, only once a month. So if you don't get there that one time, you miss everything until another month comes by, and then you might get some information. That's got to change. They've got to be transparent, and we're going to do our very best to make sure that you're informed and that you feel like that those meetings are open to you, and you know what's going on with your money and your facilities and all of that, and you deserve to. Also, we know that your water bill has gone up at least twice this year, and we're trying to, by we, I mean Desmond Brown and I, as the two lone black members and the two lone Democrats on the water board, we are working as hard as we can to figure out how we're going to pay for the needed repairs. And there's a lot of them in your area, with cave-ins and busted pipes and just all kinds of stormwater repairs that need to be done. We're going to try and figure out a different way other than dumping it all on you. You're going to have to pay some now. We're not going to try and fool you and make you think that this is it as far as rate increases. There will be some, because it's hundreds of millions of dollars that have got to be spent to make sure that your water system is brought back up to where it needs to be. It's what, 200 years old? Is it 200? And anything, I mean, is going to wear out. And there's not been adequate maintenance, especially in certain sections of town. But all of Bibb County is in a crisis. And the Water Authority has the task of rebuilding and repairing the water system. And so you need to know what's going on, and you need to know that you got to pay some, but you can't pay all. There's no way in the world you can pay all that it's going to take. But Stay tuned to Ask Elaine, and we will give you as much information as we can every week on your water authority. And we encourage you to visit your planning and zoning board, your health department, your Macon Transit Authority. Please visit the Transit Authority, and all of these other entities that you're supporting, that you're funding. You fund these things, so they need to be responsive to you. So that's my sermon for today. We want to welcome all of you to Ask Elaine. This is your former commissioner and now water board member, Elaine Lucas, welcoming you to the show. If you've joined us on AM, FM, or right here on the Glory Live, we welcome you. We're so happy to have you. We want to welcome Wade Horton, who is just an incredible person. He and his cousin are there at the Macon Transit Authority fighting for all of you, and they just try and pull all kinds of stuff on him and his cousin, but they end up winning out in the end. So we need to continue to help them. Ricky Crawford has joined us. Good afternoon to you. Kimberly Houston is here with us. Would y'all please hit like and share? And anybody else who's on Facebook Live, hit like and share to remind people that Ask Elaine is on the air. We received a call today from LJ Malone, who he and his bestie Tia have a program that comes on at 5:30 on WDDO right after. It's called The Village Speaks, and they have wonderful information and wonderful guests. And we know that they have endorsed our program and have said people need to listen because there's always some good information. We want to say to you, please hang on, and at 5:30, please listen in to The Village Speaks, because there's a lot of good information that they're sharing. The mayor had a press conference yesterday, and at that press conference, he announced some things, some procedures, and some people who are going to be working on behalf of prison reform. And so I just give him a big hand clap, because he didn't have to do it, and we'd be still fussing about, making him do it. He represents all of us. And so the mayor and the commissioners are going to be the ones to put these plans in place. And next week, we're going to try and get somebody on who has the entire outline of the mayor's proposal. It's called Mayor's Justice and Wellness Project, and it includes provisions for getting some of those folks, nonviolent folks, out of the jail, out on ankle monitor, paid, and there's a funding source and all of that. And it also talks about some provisions for moving toward a new jail facility. So next week, we're going to have some folks to come on and give us the details. Herbert, does that sound like a plan? Because you're in the jail.
But the last time I checked, the sheriff is over the jail.
The sheriff operates the jail, but the mayor
But
and commission, the county, funds the operation.
yeah, but the person that is going to make those decisions with the jail is the sheriff. And we kind of overlooking him. I think the recommendations he had some decent
Yeah.
recommendations.
Uh,
You have some decent
yeah,
recommendations,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the person that runs the jail is the sheriff.
Well, the sheriff is a part of that select committee. The DA is a part of that select committee that was announced on yesterday. So you've got some of the folks that need to be there at the table helping to make some decisions. So I'm glad to see some movement, something that we've been talking about all along. And some of the plan, that's why I want to have folks who know the details on next week, and we can get that information so we know how it feeds into your initiative, Just Walk Away. Because I heard some things, some elements of your program.
I don't think it's a bad idea what the mayor's recommending. I haven't heard from him and the sheriff, but the constitutional officer
Officer.
is the sheriff of Bibb County.
And
The
his
district
major
attorney,
duty is to run the jail,
right?
but he doesn't fund the jail. The mayor and commission fund the jail. If you look at
I understand.
the budget, you will see the funding for law enforcement.
I understand, but my concern is that they do these things, but I haven't heard what the sheriff is going to do. I hear the mayor.
Okay.
He is the person that's in charge of it. I know the funding goes another way, but
Well, Herbert, let's get him on next week.
I think
let's get a couple of people on, get him, get the sheriff, get the DA, and then we let them tell us what that plan includes. And I think we be well served because it's a step. All these folks, NAACP, the youth members of different organizations have been out there advocating for something to be done, because every week there's somebody getting murdered in the jail.
There's a problem in the jail.
Too many people. Absolutely.
There's no doubt about it. There's a problem in the jail. But my concern is I want the sheriff and the mayor. The mayor has his responsibility. The sheriff has his responsibility. And I'd like to see what they are doing.
Well, we will have them on if they're available. We will have them on, or someone who is authorized to speak on behalf of that group, who is in a decision-making position, because we don't want somebody that can't make any decisions about anything. We want the folks who can give us the true information. We get it from the horse's mouth, to be exact. We want to welcome Commissioner Donis Bryant to the show. Darcina Taylor, hello. And I think you had a birthday recently, didn't you? Just answer in the chat. I think, well, happy birthday. If you didn't, whatever you had, I knew it was something positive. So just let us know. But I think my memory is not gone yet. So I think you had a birthday. Randy Crawford has joined us. And of course, Wade Horton says hello to me and my guest. Ricky is here. Good afternoon to you. Kimberly Houston is here. Y'all hit like and share to remind everybody. And we also want to welcome those who are on AM and FM. Ricky Crawford says, Herbert, you are picking the white out. Come on, ankle monitors cost almost $400 a month. The county is paying. You got to start somewhere. And I think, okay, we've got a caller. And before I do that, I want to welcome our very, very special other guest, who's none other than Dr. Jimmy Smith, who is our administrator of our Macon Bibb Health Department. And we are so happy to have you here today. I know we were lucky to get you on because I know how busy you are. You are head of not only the Macon Bibb Health Department, but you're head of a professional organization, coordinating a lot of different things. But what we want going to talk to you today about is some health initiatives that's going on. And then we're going to talk also about some stuff, some issues that are overwhelming the Black community. So we're going to talk about that. Let's get our caller first, and then we will go to Dr. Jimmy Smith, who's head of our health department. Caller, welcome to Ask Elaine. Caller.
Hello.
Yes, welcome to Ask
Hey,
Elaine.
Lucas, how you doing?
Doing great.
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good. This is Wade. I just want to say I kind of agree with Mr. Denard that you got two things going on. You got one agency that funds it, but I would like to hear the initiative coming from the sheriff on what law enforcement things that they're going to be coming up with. And I would like to hear the commission say, okay, we're going to study what you need and we're going to fund it, because ultimately it's his responsibility. Man, he has the experience in law enforcement. The DA has experience in the district attorney's office, and the mayor got experience in the financial part of it. It all comes together to make a good product. But I think as far as the law enforcement side of it, I think we got to show a little bit more respect to who is the leader of the law enforcement.
Well, you're absolutely right. And I'm not disagreeing with Herbert. But what we said was next week's show, we're going to do our best to get the folks in who can speak on these things, because right now all we have is a news conference that was held on yesterday. The mayor, obviously a lot of people didn't know about it, so obviously there's some work that's been done, and we're going to invite the people on so that they can tell us what they know. So you're right, y'all. You both are right. I agree.
The best thing.
And let me add this to it too, because
Okay.
Maybe the sheriff and the mayor has met, and they have come up with the plan.
Maybe so.
But
yeah.
publicly, it doesn't look that way.
Yeah.
It does not at all.
Kind of look like right. And so we need to know that they're working together, and the sheriff is the lead in this. The sheriff needs to be the lead, because if it fails, we need to go and say, Sheriff, you messed up.
Well, the sheriff can be the lead on that area that he is most experienced with. That's the law enforcement end of it. We know that. The DA is on the committee, and I thought that was a smart thing. And I think there's some work already going on from what I hear. But we're going to ask these folks to come in, and let's have them to tell us exactly what, and they will tell us if there have been some meetings where they've discussed some things. We can ask them that. So yeah, there's a lot we don't know. But I have a feeling there's a lot already going on, or that those announcements would not have been made, because it seemed like it was a lot that's already been done.
I would like to add this.
Ricky says he's not disagreeing with you either, but he's saying at least this is a start.
The first thing should happen.
Speaking to that,
the first thing that if we could make it happen next week, I shouldn't be here. You should have the mayor in one chair and the sheriff in the other chair.
We can work that.
But
we're going to work that. I know they're listening, so they need to just start looking at their calendars to leave 3 to 4 next Wednesday open for Ask Elaine.
Right. See, sometimes people would grandstand and jump ahead of somebody. You've been in politics long enough.
Right.
So I want them to come together, at least say what they plan and what they got in mind, rather than just jumping. But we need to get back to that, because we need to talk this doctor.
Yes, we do. We do.
Over not the health department.
Thank you, Wade, for your call. Ricky Crawford was saying he wasn't disagreeing with you. Commissioner Bryant is agreeing with what you're saying, that we just need to know if there have been meetings, if there's additional details, we need to know that. And we're going to try and get that for y'all only here on Ask Elaine. So next Wednesday, we all have an appointment, 3 to 4 right here on Ask Elaine. Now, Dr. Jimmy Smith, welcome to Ask Elaine. I want to say it again, we're so happy we were able to get on your calendar for today. So if you don't mind, I'd like for folks to remind people about them, because we have such great Black folks. I mean, they're people, period, but they're just some that are just, I keep telling you, they're just so overly qualified for their jobs. Black folks have to be. That's just the way it is. It's unfair, but that's just the way it is. But I want him to tell you a little bit about himself, and then he's going to go into some initiatives that he is championing on our behalf in healthcare. Doc, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to certainly be back with both of you on the show. Just a little bit about myself. I am a family physician by training that went into public health almost 25, a little more than 25 years ago. As Ms. Lucas said, I do serve as the administrator of the Macon-Bibb County Health Department. Came back into that role just as COVID was getting started.
Mhm.
I also serve as the president of the Georgia Public Health Association, at least through another year, May of next year. And then last November was elected to the executive board of the American Public Health Association.
Okay. So we got the best of the best. I served on the board of health for maybe like 30 years, because I went on when the late Dolores Brooks was on there, and she taught me the will and the way. And Dolores was just such a great mentor. And on the board of health, I came to appreciate all that was being done. But you left the board of health and went into another capacity, and then when the administrative position reopened and you were back, I just shouted for joy, Herbert Denard, because I was just so happy that you were bringing your expertise back to the board of health. So I just wanted to add that we better make sure that we keep this person in place, because with the trials that we have coming now, as far as healthcare from the national level, we have got to have somebody locally who's looking out for us. Herbert, we don't know what vaccines and stuff we're going to be giving our children or whatever. And we trust Dr. Smith to make sure that the health department is doing what it needs to do. I'm going to hush and let you talk about your initiatives. We want to welcome my sister, Nita, Ms. Denard. She's on, and I think I've recognized everybody else. But Doc, I can't say it enough. We're so happy to have you.
I appreciate it. Three quick things that I wanted to mention because they're coming up on us, and I think all three of these touch different parts of our community. So June 21st at Rosa Jackson Rec Center from 11 to 1, we're hosting another community baby shower. So we're certainly inviting expectant moms, new moms, grandmothers, those that are taking care of children. We will have car seat classes available. We'll have some safe sleep classes. And actually, for the first 30 people that come and sit in that class, they used to call them playpens when I was small. Now they call them pack and plays. They will walk out of that room with a pack and play.
That shows you how out of the loop I am.
Yeah, they were playpens when I was small.
Yeah.
But now you can literally.
Herbert, they were playpens when you had your children too, weren't they? Playpens. Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that'll be at Rosa Jackson on June 21st at 11 o'clock.
East Side.
On the 28th, just the next 1 week later, we'll be at Middle Georgia State University. We're partnering with the Alzheimer's Association. We're partnering with Navicent Health Foundation to talk about and talk about the resources we have here within the county. If you're caring for a loved one that's dealing with Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, it's a conversation we all need to have, whether you're in that boat right now or not. So we've been able to do this in partnership with others around the country. Macon, our health department, was picked to be part of this project a year ago. So one of my assistant at the office has been leading this project, and we're glad to be doing it. AARP is involved in this. Ms. Myrtle Habersham is a longtime advocate of that, and the next president for AARP Georgia is also from Macon. So we're glad to be doing that one. The third one I wanted to mention is our breast and cervical cancer screening program. The number one group that comes to our health department are women. And in pulling some data, I noticed that we have women coming for all sorts of services, but our numbers for this particular program are low. So if it is low cost and in some cases no cost, but if a young lady is between the ages of 40 and 64, does not have insurance and has not had a mammogram in the last year, we believe we can enroll them in this program. Our nurses will do the clinical breast exam. We will call, schedule the mammogram, and we are paying for the mammogram. Those mammograms run about $1,000 a pop. So we use the monies that we get from the state to make sure that income is not a barrier to someone's
Right.
health.
Right. Give us those criteria for uh, getting enrolled and involved with that breast.
Sure. If
care.
it's a young lady over between the ages of 40 and 64, no insurance, and hasn't had a mammogram in the last year.
That's a lot of y'all folks.
That's a
You
lot of
put off stuff. You have to go, get your tires flattened on
Let
a
me ask you,
regular basis.
let me
So,
ask the doctor this.
okay,
yes, sir.
How important is the mammogram for women?
It is grossly important. We do know that one of the most significant health conditions a person can have is the diagnosis of cancer. But we also know that with proper prevention and screening, that we can catch most of these. Many times when someone does get a cancer diagnosis, one, we tell the person the first thing is, one, you didn't do anything wrong. Two, there may not have been an opportunity, or they didn't know of an opportunity for them to get screened, which is why we yell from the rooftops, please come see us so that we can do this. We do the same thing in October as we partner with the Macon Beer Festival, which we say is a health fair disguised as a beer festival. And Macon still holds the record for testing 150 men for prostate cancer in 4 hours. And we've done it consistently year after year. We're trying to hit 200 this year. So the thing is, we need women to come in. Let's catch it early. There are a lot of women that have a history of breast cancer. There's also, unfortunately, in our communities, and my family is not immune from this, we don't always talk about our family history with the younger ones. So you don't know that Aunt so-and-so or your grandmother had this diagnosis because no one ever told you. That puts you in undue risk.
right. What are some of the talk about some of the illnesses that are genetic, that families?
So there are a number that can be genetically related. There are a lot that we say in the community are genetically related, but science doesn't necessarily prove that. So if we talked about something like sickle cell disease, we know that there's a genetic component that if one dad has the trait, mom has the trait, there's a chance that the child can have the trait. Sometimes we talk about diabetes being genetic, but more so than genetics. Genetics does have a component, but the biggest thing with diabetes is our behavior.
Yeah.
And that behavior then goes into how much do we exercise and what do we eat? Because that is the biggest culprit that's fueling our diabetes in our community. And that's also related to one being either overweight or obese.
Well,
Let me ask you something. I don't know. This might be out of your field. Why is it so many Black folks are on dialysis?
So part of
Seems like every time I go to in a Black community, most of the time you see all of these dialysis centers where people go in and get their blood run through this system and put back in their body. And it seems like it's not that many white people have this dialysis like Black folk.
So there is a disparity in terms of the numbers of folks that either have kidney disease, or when you progress to dialysis, we also call it end stage renal disease. It does not mean the end. It does not mean death. It just means that you now need assistance, further different type of assistance to help your kidneys work. So there is a disparity. You do have more African Americans on dialysis than you do Caucasians, even though we only make up 12, 13% of the population. But even with that, when you look from a national perspective, African Americans are not at the top. Native Americans actually have a worse case of diabetes within the race and ethnicity than any other group in the nation.
So it's lifestyle.
So it's lifestyle. Now, sometimes that lifestyle is by choice, and sometimes that is by consequence of policies and provisions of things that have been done, which is why, as former Commissioner Lucas talks about, you have to be involved on the advocacy and policy side, because sometimes rules are made that don't work to your benefit.
That's right.
So what is it? The food we eat? Is it the exercise we don't get? Or is it all of the above or none of the above?
It's all of the above. So it is the foods that we eat. And I would be the first to say, having members of my family that lived well into their 90s, that food sustained them. However, the food that they ate, even though we may call it the same, it is
it
not the
was
same
different.
food. If you're eating, if we use poultry or chicken, for instance, their chickens came from the yard and they fed them every day. We use things that are highly processed. It takes a chicken, if you will, about 4 to 6 months to grow before you put
Normally.
normally. You can take a chick to a chicken that's on its way to Purdue processing plant. Now you can do that in under 30 days.
What is
It's not the same.
steroids or something similar to that?
It's different feeding program. It's how you don't let them move. It's what we call large farming operations so that you can mass produce things. We used to eat vegetables, but we ate them out of our own garden. Now we eat vegetables that come from a grocery store, which is, you still should eat these vegetables, but just know there's a lot of pesticides or herbicides that are used to get that food to you.
I told this story the other day here on the show. I had a grandmother that died because of a stroke. She had a stroke, and when she went unconscious, when she came back to, she was they gave her some more fat back and food like that. When they had a cured ham with all the salt in it, and then she had a stroke and died. Is that food still causing problems? We haven't eat too much food with high concentration of salt in it.
It does. Salt is a very much a high contributor to particularly hypertension. Hypertension, that high blood pressure, your blood pressure goes up because you're trying to push a fluid, meaning your blood, through these vessels, and you have to have a higher amount of pressure to push it through. It takes that higher pressure because what should be an open hose, now the the opening for which that blood goes through has gotten smaller because it's getting not corroded, but there are a lot of things that are attached to it, what we call atherosclerosis, or just junk or fat that blocks that pathway. If you remember, I grew up in the country, so I'll use a country example. If you took the water hose and put your finger over the end, the water came out a lot faster, had higher pressure. If you moved it, it flowed a lot easier. That's how our heart pushes blood through those vessels. Salt is a big deterrent to that. We need to decrease the amount of salt that we take in. We need to decrease the amount of sugar that we take in. And I would dare to say, because I'm the world's worst example of this, most of my most of my sugar doesn't come from food. Sugar comes from a lot of your drinks. So particularly, if you said what was the state drink of Georgia, most folks would say sweet tea.
Yeah.
Because that's a no.
Yeah.
That's going to be on the table wherever we are. And if you think about the number of sugar laden drinks that we take in day after day after day, from the time we're a child to when we're older, we're giving insult to our body in a chronic manner.
I used to serve on the water board with a guy named Reverend Booker Chambers. He used to say, if you know better, you're supposed to do better.
Yeah.
We know that this high concentration of salt is hurting us. We know this high concentration of sugar is. Some people have diabetes and they eat like they don't have diabetes. They eat the cakes, everything they could think of. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people are leaving away from here early.
They are. When I was training as a family physician, we used to have what we called adult onset diabetes, or there was diabetes type 1, which you could get as a child, or juvenile diabetes, and then there was adult onset diabetes, which you saw when folks got in their 30s or 40s. You now see diabetes type 2, or what we used to call adult onset diabetes. You will now see that in teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying the more sugar, the soft drinks, the Coca-Cola, and the cakes, the pies, and the things that you eat that turn into sugar is causing a lot of this?
Right. So, and the last thing you said is key. Those things that turn into sugar. So,
tell us about them.
So those things like bread. Mm-hmm. When your body metabolizes bread or breaks down bread, a key component of that is it turns into sugar. So if you're eating a lot of breads, if you're eating a lot of processed meats, there are certain things that you look at and say, there's not sugar in that. But what I would ask folks to do is just take a look at the label before you drink a carbonated beverage, before you drink Kool-Aid, before you make up your tea. Look at how much you put in it, and then
Yeah,
realize how much sugar
we
you
do
actually
make
take.
our tea sweet.
We
We
make it
want to
sweet.
welcome Iretta Scott, and we want to welcome Pastor Lisa, who is with us every week. Uh, um, Commissioner Bryant wants us to announce that they are giving out weather radios today at Macon Mall from 4 to 7. Same side by the Board of Elections. And speaking of the Board of Elections, there is an election going on for Public Service Commission. There are 2 districts, Districts 2 and 3, that you will be voting in. Excuse me. So y'all, please go and vote. There are 2 early voting sites. One is at the Senior Citizen Center in Carolyn Creighton Park, and the other one is out at the old mall, at the Macon Mall site, where your Board of Elections is located. Your big, brand new, spanking brand new Board of Elections that you paid for. It's yours. So you need to go out there. There's some other things that will be going on. Many of these activities are going on in the Macon Mall. Board of Health takes part in a large number of community events. Tell the folks about some of the different events y'all have taken part in and where you'll be coming up.
Sure. We just took part.
Speak into that mic
We
for us.
just took part maybe a couple weeks ago in celebrating the 13th anniversary of Macon being named the first age-friendly community in the United States, which was actually held at the mall in the same place where the Board of Elections office is. The other events that we've been involved in, we've held classes related to civic advocacy and policy, teaching people about the process of how local government works. Because what we want to do is not just educate folks, but empower them to then go back to their communities and say, hey, we can go to our county commission, we can go to a water authority meeting and voice our concerns and how to do that and be effective with doing that. We do a lot of our work in partnership with other community groups, because there's no other health department in the state of Georgia that looks like the one in Macon-Bibb County.
Yeah.
And most folks may say I'm biased because I'm there, but all you have to do is travel to 159 counties, and I guarantee you will come back to Macon.
Right.
So there are things that we're doing here. We do it in partnership with a number of fraternities, sororities, civic organizations. We do it with faith-based groups. We've met with the Mayor's Council of Clergy, also talking about the things that we offer. So we welcome those partnerships and want folks to call us.
Let me ask something. Alzheimer's, you mentioned that earlier. Is it something that causes Alzheimer's? Is it the food? Is it the drinks? Or is it hereditary? Or it seems like more and more people are having Alzheimer's than before at a younger age.
Well, so there are 2 things. One, there are multiple theories about what causes it and what causes parts of the brain to seem to forget or have what we call little plaques or spots on the brain that don't work as well. There are some folks, there's one that some people have theorized to call diabetes 3, which there's not to say that everyone that has diabetes will develop Alzheimer's, but they've noticed that quite a few folks that have Alzheimer's also had diabetes at some point. So we actually don't know all of those answers. We have great resources within the state. Emory University is part of what we call a memory net system that is doing all kinds of research to look at those things. And that's even a group that we partnered with earlier to talk about the relationship, say, between heart disease and Alzheimer's.
We've got a question from Wade Horton. He says, hello, Doc. Not having enough sodium in your diet, can that cause hypertension as well as having too much sodium?
Usually it's having too much sodium, not enough. If you were to tell folks, we'd like folks to have less than what we call 2,000 grams of salt in their diet. So let's say 2 to 3 tablespoons of salt total, not heaping tablespoons. We're not using the salt like grandma used to make a cake and could eyeball it and do it that way. but 2 regular tablespoons of salt, and say that's all the salt you need for the day.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, most people will take that in one meal.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to cut down on the salt because.
So what's an alternative to the regular salt that we're so used to using? Some people use sea salt. Is that an alternative?
You can use different forms of salt, but salt is still salt.
Okay.
At the end
All
of
right.
the day, you can season
So
it. You can
much
season
for
it different.
You know, I've
So
noticed.
Season it different.
I noticed as a child, and I have a couple of friends that do it. When they eat an apple or plum or whatever,
watermelon.
a watermelon, they put salt on it. Tell us
And
something.
part of that, it just becomes a preferred taste because of habit. And think about it, we do a lot of things. I eat things that I watch my grandparents cook. I was fortunate enough to have time with my grandparents before they passed. So we eat the same that I saw my grandparents eat, that I saw my parents prepare for me. And then as I have children, I cooked many of the same things. Now, how we cooked it
Yeah.
is very dependent on your income and what's available to you. There are a lot of folks that eat some of these things because they're able to afford these things. You may want to eat differently, but you might have to price differently. And if your income doesn't allow that, it makes it difficult. So with that, it becomes preference. We used to grow watermelons in North Carolina when I was growing up. And I'd see folks cut a slice of watermelon, sprinkle it with salt, and then they eat it.
Yeah.
Right.
But at least
that
you had
is-
a lot of water.
But I
there
think
with it.
but when you do that, you're hurting your body.
Yes. And many times it's silent because we used to call hypertension, still call hypertension the silent killer, meaning some folks say, oh, I know my blood pressure is up. I got a headache. And as a physician, what I would tell folks, by the time you get the headache, your headache is being caused by those blood vessels in your head beginning to spasm. So that's when you feel it. Your blood pressure's already been high.
Yeah. Let's talk about the things, the visits to the doctor. A lot of our Black men, especially, women will go to the doctor. The records show that more women go to the doctor than men. Men, and I know part of it's historic, that Black people have been mistreated, disrespected from a medical standpoint. And there have been people in history, like who was it that invented the transfusion, who ended up, Dr. Charles, who ended up dying because he was refused blood transfusion. That's just it is so sinful that kind of stuff has happened. But a lot of men choose not to for fear or whatever it is. And the financial input part of it is a problem as well, because it costs to get medical care.
It does.
So talk about what men and women absolutely need to have as far as checking stuff as you go through life.
Sure. So certainly, and I'll start with men first. Men, what I would encourage you to do, and if there are ladies on the line, I would encourage you to mention this to the men in your family, whether you're sitting around the dinner table on a weeknight or a Sunday afternoon or at a family reunion. Encourage the men in your family to have a physical at least once a year. At least once a year, go in and get checked. No one's riding around in the car and doesn't get the oil checked. No one's riding around in the car and doesn't check the tires or kick the tires every now and then.
Or it's going to tear up.
Or it's going to tear up. And that's what
just
happens.
like your body.
Just like our body. So encourage them to go in. Is there a cost? Yes. Is that cost high enough for you to say that cost is not as high as me not being here for my family?
And if you don't have a private physician, talk about the health department and how it is a place that you can get your care.
Yes. So Bibb County is a place that is very resource rich. And I think sometimes we forget
we
that.
Just don't use.
We don't use it. So you can, we have nurse practitioners at the health department that treat men and women for hypertension and diabetes. We can do the general physicals. There is a charge when you come in, but we work with folks and do a payment plan if they need it. We have a federally qualified health center called First Choice here with now multiple locations around the county. The hospital has Anderson Clinic. We also have the Macon Volunteer Clinic, where if you're between 18 and 64, live in Bibb County, work, are employed, but don't have insurance, and there's a lot of folks that do work and don't have
Right.
insurance,
That's right.
they will see you as well. So there's 4 opportunities right there for you to go in without having to go to the emergency room. Now, certainly, if it's an emergency, that's the best place for
Yeah.
you, or an urgent
Yeah.
care if it's after those hours where everyone else is open. But we have tons of resources in this county for people to use.
Right, right. At the health department, are there lists of those services where people can access different services?
Yes, if they come by and it's a service that we don't have, we certainly can get you referred or get you the information to that service. If you go to, we have a website. If you just look up Macon Bibb County Health Department, and even if you've never been to our health department, you can go to the website, go down on the first page about middle way, and if you've never been in the building, we even have a video where you can look at the
Oh, it's
entire building.
wonderful.
We
It's
flew
great.
a drone through the building for 6 hours, and it gives you a broad overview of everything that we do at the health department.
Right. So we want to welcome Hildred Jones, who's with us each week, and Wade and Commissioner Bryant and all the others who have joined us through the Glory Live here. And we also want to welcome those of you who have joined us on AM or FM. You've tuned in to Ask Elaine. We have about 15 more minutes. Our very special guest today is Dr. Jimmy Smith, who is the administrator, the head person at our Macon Bibb Board of Health. We are a unique Board of Health in that we have a local entity, the Macon Bibb Board of Health. There's another level, which is the district health office, but we are so fortunate that we have our own Macon Bibb. The building that you see right there on Forsyth Street, if you're coming into downtown next to Sid's there,
Yep.
right at the interstate. You might not know this, but some of your SPLOST money went into purchasing that building because it used to be on the east side over where the old Zayres building and over there near Coliseum Hospital and over in that used to be there. But some of your SPLOST money, and I'm pleased to say that I was a part of pushing for I think it was what, 2.5 million
Yes.
SPLOST money from the 2018 SPLOST that went into either relocating or renovating the health department, and it was a successful move, and that health department is fantastic. But I wanted to let you know that you paid a big part. Everything in this community you paid for, and you continue to pay for the operation. So I don't see why you sit silently and have concerns, and then there's something there that you're paying for to remedy whatever ails you, and you don't take advantage of it. You just like to sit and fuss.
I was fortunate enough to have Dr. Jimmy Smith come to the jail with me and speak to him. You told the women all the things that was available to them. Could you tell us that?
Sure. We talked to the young ladies when we came, and actually you allowed me to bring even family practitioners that are
Yes.
training here in Macon
Right.
have come with me a couple times. But one of the things we talked to them about is certainly coming again for their annual visits to come see us. We can take care of the pap smears, the annual visits. If they're interested in becoming a mom later on, we can work with them on their family planning activities and whatever method they would like to use. We are fortunate to be the largest provider of the Women, Infant, and Children program in the Middle Georgia region. And right now we're averaging about 3,900 services provided to women, infant, and children's each month. So one of the things, and this happened while Ms. Lucas was on the Board of Health, WIC every summer has a farmer's market. And usually in most of the smaller counties, it may last a day or two. At Bibb, it lasts a week. Last year, we were able to have the farmer at the site for 3 weeks. This summer, right now, we're being able to serve our WIC clients for the entire month. So they come into the building, those extra dollars for fruits and vegetables get loaded on their card. We're working with an African-American farmer out of Perry. He is in the building. So you
Yeah.
literally walk out of the WIC
Fresh
area
stuff, y'all.
into our large conference room. He's set up like a market, and they can go and get their fruits and vegetables there. If when folks are coming out and they may not have a copy of their birth certificate, or working with family and may need a copy of the death certificate for a mom or a dad, we also can handle that here. In most counties, it's done at the probate court. Our county and Washington County have the responsibility for that, so we can issue one from anywhere, in the state.
Let me ask something else. How important is it not to eat a lot of canned food?
So with canned foods, the one downside of there's an upside to canned food. Let me start with that. And that's convenience, because we have a lot of folks that may be working 1, 2, 3 jobs and don't have the time to say prepare something that's fresh. So there's a convenience to that, and they're still eating fruits and vegetables in one form or another. The downside of that would be to be able to preserve it in a can and make it last as long as it does. There's a high salt content. So when you do that, just know that you have the good and bad. The greatest thing is what the Bible teaches: all things in moderation.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful how we do that, and if we can, moderate ourselves. If you think about this is a good example I can give for those that remember. Since we're in Georgia, we use Coca-Cola. The initial size of a Coca-Cola when folks first got it was a 7.5-ounce can. We've watched it go from 7.5 ounces to 12 ounces to 16 ounces to 20 ounces to a liter to a 2-liter bottle.
Yeah.
Now you can go in any convenience store and get almost a 44-ounce cup of whatever you want that is high in sugar. So it's not to say that it's bad. It's just in moderation, and we have to cut down the amount.
And there are some smaller ones too that are out there.
So
now
the smaller ones that you're talking about, that was the original size.
Would you say that the best thing they could drink is water?
Is water.
Better than the Cokes. And I'm afraid that too many of us hardly drink any water at all. They drinking liquids, but it's not water.
Yes, you are taking in liquids, which is important to your body, but you have to remember that your kidneys have to filter and cleanse all the liquid that's coming into your system. So as you do that, water helps not only replenish your kidney, but flush it out. So when you put things in there that are full of syrup and sugar and other things, it's harder on your organs to get it out. That water helps push all those things out. Yes, but water itself, nothing added, just water is the best thing for you.
We have been having a very interesting discussion today with my co-host, Mr. Herbert Denard, who recently celebrated his 80th birthday. You got a wonderful daughter and your sons, because they had him a really nice 80th birthday. Herbert,
and they
you
paid
look
for
all
it.
right. Well, that's the best part. That's the best part.
I'll tell you what, family is very important.
It's very important. It increases your quality of life, that family interaction. So if you're mad with somebody in your family, you might want to try and, figure out a way to get y'all together and, increase your happiness and reduce your anxiety, because happier families, people who are happier and have a good relationship with a lot of people, they really live longer. They really live long. And people that tell you that your physical and your mental and all of that are tied together, they're telling you the truth. Because if you're upset and stressed out and mean and nasty all the time, you're cutting your life. You're cutting down on your life expectancy. And there are enough things out there working against you anyway than for you to add more to it. Wouldn't you agree?
Let me ask one last thing.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What do you recommend people do for anger management? Some people, I had somebody in the jail today was just telling me they was there because they got in a fight about something. Somebody said something small, and a lot of people, sometimes you have road rage when somebody almost hit somebody and they're cursing and yelling out the house.
Let them keep on going.
What do you say to that?
It's a difficult question, because I think in some cases the first thing we need to do is one, be still. And before we react, just one, take a deep breath. Now that deep breath doesn't mean you getting your energy up to do something to somebody. It just means one, take a deep breath, because one, is it that important?
Yeah.
In the overall
Yeah.
scheme, is it that important? As she said, you get stressed out and get all worked up. Sometimes we can handle that with self. And then sometimes there are actually folks that may need professional assistance to do that. And I think that's also part of that conversation you have with family that
Right.
says, this is beyond maybe what I can help you with. And it's okay for you to talk to someone else. We live in the Bible Belt. We are full of faith-based organizations across a number of denominations. But one of the things that I know my pastor says, it is okay to have Jesus and a therapist too.
Yes, it is. Yes,
It's
it
okay
is.
to have both.
Right.
And
Yeah.
sometimes there are folks that need both, and they don't always know it, but there's a right
Right.
way to approach that person and
Yeah.
assist them in getting
Talk about the fact that a lot of people don't want to have it said that I'm crazy. That's especially among our folks. A lot of our folks will say, "Well, I'm not crazy, but you got some problems, and it's causing conflict with other folks." How do you work on getting people to realize they need help?
I think one, you have to be patient, and extend some patience and grace and mercy with them, because that person doesn't always realize it.
Mhm.
And it could be something that, not always, but could be associated with something that happened to them as a child. So what we call in educational system, adverse childhood experiences.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've carried that with them. And as an educator, you've seen that as you've gone through your
Yeah.
career, and then you've seen it when they got to be a young adult, and then even as an older adult.
Just mad all the
You're
time,
mad
or
all the-
upset all the time.
But don't
For
always
nothing.
know what you're mad at.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
mad.
But that
mad.
hurts the person himself, right?
Yes.
It does. They don't realize it though. They have to get to a point where they realize I need some help. Unfortunately, it's usually a crisis situation,
Right.
a tragic situation,
And
and then they're made to get what they need.
what I was talking about, like a person, when your person is mad, that does something physically to your body, doesn't it?
It does. So from a chemical standpoint, it certainly increases the amount of what we call cortisol that is in your system. Cortisol is what we call your stress hormone. So that stress hormone stays up. When that stress hormone stays up, it also affects your heart. It can increase your blood pressure. It increases the atherosclerotic or plaques that block your vessels, which again increase your heart
attack,
rate
stroke.
and heart attacks.
Mm.
The one thing I can say again, Macon and Bibb County is resource rich. Just 2 weeks ago, we had the first ever mental health symposium called Trauma from Trauma to Transformation
Yeah.
at South Bibb Rec Center. So again, using all of our resources to hold the conference at one of the rec centers that was built with SPLOST dollars.
Do you
But
have good turnout? It
actually
seems
had
like I
great
saw the
turnout.
pictures. They looked
Had
like
great
it was a good
turnout.
turnout.
Yep, 2 days, a Friday and a Saturday. A lot of discussions. I sat in on discussions that talked about fathers and stress and how you make it. There were conversations about things that happened to folks in childhood. There were conversations about resources within the county. Part of the Macon Violence Prevention plan and program helped to fund this. So there are additional resources where you can go and have a conversation with somebody.
Well, as our health administrator at the health department, I would hope that you would push for having more countywide kinds of things. That obviously was very successful. And so having a couple more during the year would capture some people and hopefully get them to realize that they're not in stuff by themselves.
Right.
A lot of people isolate themselves and feel like the world is just down on them and there's no help for them at all. And having more of those, I think would capture quite a few people and make them realize that there are resources, that there is another place that they can go for help. That is I'm glad that was a big success. and you reached some people, you saved some lives by having that. Because our suicide rate, we've been talking with the coroner and the suicide. You want to talk about that real quickly? Because I think we've got 1 minute.
Yep, that's one. It probably falls more in the coroner's
Yeah.
sphere of influence than ours. It is certainly falls under behavioral health, mental health,
Mhm.
and again, using the resources that the coroner makes available, utilizing River Edge Behavioral Health Center, which it doesn't get the credit that it needs to, but all of the work that is done by River Edge, not only in this community but across the state,
Mhm.
particularly moving folks from homelessness into shelter and
Yeah.
then on to resources, is just phenomenal.
Right.
We are
Right.
really blessed to have you in our
We
presence
really
at
are.
this place.
And thank you.
You like
And
Tina Turner say, you the best.
you're the best.
Better than all the
So,
rest.
look, we want you to look on your
Better than
calendar.
anyone.
And the next time, I know you're busy, but the next time you're available, would you let us know so that we can
Yes, ma'am.
have you on again?
Absolutely.
Thank you so very much. Rhonda Bird says this was an awesome show. Ask Elaine is the place to be, y'all. You get smarter. Y'all need to go. You got until Friday to go vote early for Public Service Commission that determines all of the rates, especially Georgia Power. And you need to get involved and know, and please go vote because hardly anybody has gone to vote. So we want to increase that. So our time is up. We will see you again next Wednesday for another edition of Ask Elaine. Thank you, guests. Thank you, co-host.